Are we going? Okay, party time. So today on the channel, what we're gonna do, we're gonna talk about all the movies that I watched in January. I know this is like a pretty popular video format with all sorts of different reviewers. I watch those videos and I really love those kinds of videos. So I figured, why don't I just try it for myself, you know? I pretty much only talk about media that I really like on this channel. And I thought maybe by doing a video like this, it could make this channel feel just a little more well-rounded, because it will at least give me an opportunity to talk a little bit about the stuff that I didn't connect with as well. And I think this will give you just a better idea of my personal tastes, you know, and you can kind of, you know, judge for yourself if you even really want to listen to me all that much. Anyway, we're just going to get into it now. And the first thing that I watched in January was a movie called The Place Beyond the Pines. My only real criticism with the movie is that there's kind of like there's too many coincidences, kind of too many magical movie moments. And I think you can do that. That's a perfectly fine thing to do in a movie. But if you're doing it, you know, 2-3 times throughout the movie, I don't know. I don't quite like that. But otherwise, I really, really love this movie. I'm somebody who really likes heavy dramas and very overdramatic stuff. So if you're into that kind of thing, I think you'd probably like this movie. I also really admire this movie for taking some real risks with its writing, because it doesn't really follow a traditional story structure. It's refreshing to me when I see somebody kind of breaking form a little bit. This is editing Adam chiming in for just a moment here, because I really didn't, as I'm editing this, I'm realizing that I didn't explain myself very well about this, but I will say that I think The Place Beyond the Pines is a near perfect movie for me. After that, I watched a movie called Saturday Night Fever. This is a John Travolta movie that is about the disco scene in the 70s and 80s, and he plays this guy that he's a very, very talented dancer, but he just is like a local guy. He likes to compete in the local nightclub. But what I will say about this movie is that it kind of, I watched a movie called The Last Days of Disco last year, and that was a movie that really opened me up to disco music on the whole, and now I would say I actually am a fan of disco, because it kind of just offered a new perspective that I had never considered about that whole subculture. But I will say with Saturday Night Fever, it's a movie that kind of reminds me of all the things that deterred me from disco music in the first place. It's just like New York in the 70s. A lot of it just really grosses me out. That being said, I do think it is a good movie, but just not for me. After that, I revisited the movie Big Daddy, one of Adam Sandler's classics. This would probably be my least favorite of the classic Adam Sandler movies, but I hadn't seen it in a very long time, and I was looking for just like a comfort movie to watch. I would say, you know, for the first 2/3 of the movie, the first 2 acts, I was mostly just rolling my eyes and not really enjoying myself, and I was, you know, it was a bit disappointing, because I was just looking to put on a movie and just have a nice time, take a break from my real life, and it didn't really do that for me. But I will say, once we got to the 3rd act, the movie actually it made me cry multiple times. You know, for what it's worth, I did appreciate that. I appreciated the way that this movie completely manipulated my emotions in the 3rd act. After that, I was also looking again for just a comfort movie. I often go back to comfort movies, you know. And so I watched Dodgeball, a true underdog story. This is a movie that I loved it when I was younger, and I would say I still like it. I still think it's a great comedy. This time around, it didn't really work for me, you know. Some days, you just kind of can't get out of your own head. You know what I mean? I think a comedy, you sort of need to kind of just, you're not supposed to take it seriously. You know what I mean? You're just supposed to just let go and have a good time. And that's the kind of experience I wanted to have that night. But the movie just didn't work for me that night. You know what I mean? Sometimes you watch a comedy and it just doesn't work for you. But I do know, I've watched this movie multiple times and I do like it. Okay, and then after that I watched Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. Okay, I kind of sometimes feel like maybe I'm becoming a broken record on this channel, because I'm always saying that I don't really like action movies. This is, I mean, it's an action adventure. You know, it's not just an action movie. And there's also, usually even within action movies, I do appreciate the comedic bits. But yeah, I would kind of say the same thing I would say about any movie like this. It's not really for me. Seeing it again now, I think as my tastes have developed, it was okay. It's a fun time, you know. The adventure elements can be pretty exciting. And I liked, you know, seeing the relationships between the different characters develop over time. But yeah, you know, similar to any other action movie, I kind of just space out during the action sequences and don't really get much out of those. And I usually just like, you know, I'm just usually waiting for them to be over. But overall, you know, I think it's, again, a good movie, maybe just not for me. Oh, yes. Okay, after that, I watched a movie called Milk. This is a Gus Van Sant movie starring Sean Penn playing Harvey Milk. And if you don't know who Harvey Milk was, he was the first openly gay man to be elected to office. I think it was governor of San Francisco for a time until he was tragically assassinated. I do really love Gus Van Sant movies, and I think this is one of his stronger, you know, traditional Hollywood style movies. I do think it suffers a little bit from just being too formulaic, but it's still a very moving story. It's just so easy to fall in love with these characters and also their cause. I just think some of the performances and some of the scenes are maybe a little bit contrived. It doesn't really take anything away from the movie, though. I think it's a great movie. I think it really is a great movie. And it's great to see somebody like Harvey Milk celebrated in cinema. After that, I watched a movie called Murder by Numbers. This is a movie that it's very, very special to me personally. It is definitely not a movie I would recommend to people because it is so hokey and it's so played out. It's just like it's a crime thriller, and you've seen it all before. But I think just the like 90s styling of it is something. It's just the kind of stuff that I grew up with. I grew up in like late 90s, early 2000s kind of goth culture. I was listening to bands like Marilyn Manson and Slipknot and, you know, Nine Inch Nails and all that. And this movie just brings me back to that time. And I think it's like, to me, the movie is just so dreamy. It's kind of made up of all the strange dreams of my youth. And that's why I really love it. And I will say, I do think it has like some really strong moments that may even make it worth watching for people who maybe that's not really something they're as familiar with. I still think there's some really strong filmmaking in here. But yeah, this one, I would just say it's very special to me, like in a big way. I had such a great time rewatching this movie over the past month. But again, it's probably not going to go over so well, at least from what I can understand. Looking at the Letterboxd reviews, not a lot of people are actually on board with this movie in the way that I am. But I love it. And then, you know what? I did watch Marty Supreme. I watched it. This one, so Marty Supreme, I don't even feel like I really need to talk about it a whole lot. There's been so many discussions about Marty Supreme online already. I think what I would say is I just thought it was brilliant. I loved this movie. It was one of the best nights I had in January. I think my only real criticism with the movie is that it's just very hard for me to believe that people actually acted like this in the 50s, you know? Like, I highly doubt that people were ghost riding the whip back then. But other than that, I just had such a fun time with this movie. I think I would love to see them try something a little different for their next movie, because I feel like maybe if they put out another movie in this same style, you know, scored by Daniel Lopatin again, I think it would just feel a little tired. And so I'm hopeful that we'll see something new from them in the future. But for what it is, Marty Supreme, loved it. After that, I revisited a movie called Our Friend. This is a devastating movie. It stars Casey Affleck, Dakota Johnson, and also Jason Segel. And this is a story about cancer. I think this is probably the best movie that I've ever seen that explores the harsh realities of getting sick and dying. And they include such gut-wrenching scenes where, like, they have to tell their kids that their mom is dying. Thankfully, they do also lighten it up at times. Jason Segel in this ends up being a pretty great comedic relief, even though he's losing like a very, very close friend in this situation as well. So he's really going through it. The reason this movie is called Our Friend is because his character, he's not even part of the family. He's just like a family friend. But he kind of sacrifices so much of his own life just so he can be available for this family going through this terrible tragedy. It is an incredibly touching movie, but also incredibly devastating. I pretty much cried the whole way through. It's a hard watch, but I really, really appreciate movies like this. Okay, and the final movie that I watched in January is called In the Soup. This one was a great surprise for me. I'm surprised that I hadn't heard of it before. It is from the 90s, and it is about a filmmaker who is just kind of like, he's in a very desperate situation, and he's trying to get his movie made. And so he sort of takes up this opportunity to work with this kind of shady movie producer. He gets really in over his head, basically. It feels a lot like an early Jim Jarmusch movie to me. Like it's comedic in that way, kind of like maybe Coffee and Cigarettes, if you've seen that one. It's got that kind of sense of humor and that kind of like sensibility. And one of the wonderful things about this movie is that it's got like this kind of ensemble cast of people that are huge names today, but at the time they were really just getting their start. Steve Buscemi plays the lead role, and you have Seymour Cassel as the supporting lead role. I think I've only really ever seen Seymour Cassel in small roles in other movies. This was the first movie I got to see him like really flex his acting talent, because he basically plays the supporting lead role in this, and he is phenomenal in this movie. And it makes me want to search out more movies with him in it. I actually just learned yesterday that he's in a bunch of John Cassavetes movies. John Cassavetes has been a blind spot for me for a very long time, so maybe it's high time that I finally, give his movies a fair go. But yeah, other than that, you've also got Sam Rockwell in this movie as a teenager. You've got Jim Jarmusch himself does have a small role, as well as Carol Kane. Stanley Tucci is also in this. You even got like the little guy from Twin Peaks. The guy that's like dancing around in the Black Lodge. He's in this movie as well. I really, really like this one. It's a very entertaining movie. The story is great, and some of the entertainment value admittedly does come from just seeing these actors as they were just getting their start. There's even just like a cultural element to it that I enjoyed. It's just kind of cool to see like the history of a person's career. You know what I mean? And that is everything that I watched in January. If you liked this video, please let me know. I would be happy to make more stuff like this. I would say this is maybe just like a little bit of an experiment right now. I don't know if I will make this like a continuous thing that I do every month. But that's really it. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.